And so now you're flooded with like all of these degrees, and you're wondering, okay, so what is the thing that is valuable so that I can get this job?
Right.
Or be running my own business.
Right.
So I think that was something that was also being sold, and we see it now. People have a lot of degrees like myself, and you're thinking, well, why is this so hard? This is not what they talked about.
Right, exactly.
I've been misinformed.
Exactly. Well, hello there, Flawless family. Ooh, I am so happy to see you guys back again this week to another episode of Flawless Living Made Simple, Winning Mindsets. You guys, we're on episode 22. Ooh, I'm so excited. So, if you watched last week's episode, and if you didn't, first of all, you should have liked and subscribed. However, what I need you guys to know is that this season is all about wellness, okay? We are focused, and I am staying focused on mental, physical, spiritual, and financial wellness. And so that is why I am more than honored. I am so grateful to have this amazing tastemaker, businesswoman, and Christian leader sitting beside me today. This is Mrs. Trevina Jefferson. Now, if you're in our Hampton Roads area, you are probably very familiar with this lady because not only does she put out a lot of content, she actually helps and uplifts so many businesses and women in our area. So I am so happy to introduce her to you guys today so you can learn more about her mission and the things that she and her family are accomplishing. Welcome, Trevina.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. I'm so grateful to have you here. So, as we were talking and gathering information to kind of have this conversation with you on winning mindsets, I ran into you a couple of weeks ago at a Women Who Lead event, right?
Yes.
Because we are Women Who Lead.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so, in seeing you, I immediately said, I've got to have you on the show. I am so proud of you. And I met you through my good friend, I call my cousin Sonia. And we don't know each other very well. However, every time I see you, you come off with this warmth and grace that makes a person want to get to know you better. So I just am thankful that you took the time to come over and sit with me today. Okay?
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yes, ma'am. So let's talk a little bit about what you have going on. But first, let's let the people get to know you so that we can get down to the bottom of your winning mindset.
Sure.
So now, you and I both are kind of transplanted locals. I'm originally from Maryland, and you said you're originally from California.
Yes.
So what is the story that brought you here to our amazing Hampton Roads?
Well, there was a time period, I want to say 2008, where a lot of things were happening around the country. And in California, that meant a lot of things were crashing. And so I began to do a lot more traveling and ended up, one of the locations I ended up was in South Korea. And so there I worked as a professor at 2 different universities.
Okay.
Teaching, and that's where I met my husband.
Okay. And what were you teaching as a professor over in South Korea?
At that point, it was doing English in engineering and also in law. So I've done some legal studies as well.
Okay, that is really good. What school did you attend?
So my favorite school that I attended is UC Berkeley.
Okay.
I also attended a couple of other ones, Northwest College, which was a Christian university, as well as Cal State Northridge. And that was for one of my master's degrees. So it's one of those things where you end up having a lot of alphabets after a while.
Right. No, but you earned it. I mean, that's the point, is that you earned it. You sought the education, and then you went to give it to others. And that is just a beautiful thing. And I mean, I really think that is so dope. So what did you study when you were at your favorite school?
At that time, I wanted to do things in education because I felt like I wanted to do something different. To help serve others. They just didn't have an education specific degree for undergrad. So I had to create it in this thing called interdisciplinary studies. Okay. And so that became the multicultural child development and business tech degree.
Right.
But I did keep working on that. So I spent 20 years in education and nonprofits.
Really? 20 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Trevina, I'm beginning to think that you are older than you look. Because, honey, you're talking about you spent 20 years in education and nonprofit education.
Yeah.
I mean, you are fine, okay? Somebody needs to tell you, okay? Because you are a beautiful lady. Because that's just the beginning of your career after school. So you end up in South Korea, you meet your husband, you guys obviously begin creating your love story. Yeah. And so what brought you back to the States?
Well, I want to mention what you just said, because you were talking about how I spent 20 years and I was in college. But actually, I went to the military first.
Okay.
So I was stationed here in Norfolk.
Okay.
In 1998.
Oh, me too.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, were you in the Navy?
Yes, I was.
Okay, yeah. Yep, I was in the Navy. I spent a very short period of time in there. It was cute. It was very cute.
We won't get into all that.
Yeah, it kept me in Hampton Roads though. So
yeah.
I'll always give the Navy. First of all, it's the Navy, so we're going to honor our military.
Absolutely. Honor, courage, and commitment.
Right, exactly. We are American at the end of the day.
And what Navy stands for? Never again volunteer yourself.
You better say it. You better say it. However, I really did my rate and what I did really informed who I've become. The experiences that I had, although short, taught me a lot about things that I hadn't been exposed to. So I cannot knock it.
Absolutely.
And I stayed here. So when I got out so suddenly, how everything occurred, it was like I went home for the weekend. I looked around. I'm from Baltimore City.
Yeah.
So I went home. I looked around. All my friends were working so hard. They were working. Just night and day. And I was like, I was like, Virginia, I could just be like smart and figure it out. And I came back down here and I've been here ever since. And it's coming up, it'll be 30 years in like 2 years. So 2-3 years. So
wow.
Yeah, so I've been here for a very long time. So I definitely, get it. So you were in the Navy, you spent time here in Norfolk.
That's how I knew to come back to
it. Yeah. Okay. So you came back here. And so what happened from that point?
So, I guess we kind of rewind back. We got here after I had met my husband. So I met my husband in South Korea.
Right.
And I was looking to get back to the States because a lot of things had happened here. People were losing houses left and right in 2008, 2009.
Yeah, I know. I was in the business. I lost my first house in 2008, January 2008. So, and I was in my 20s. So you figure that it's not really an ouch. And the reason why I can say that now is because I didn't listen. So I had mentors around me that told me late 2006. They said, hey, things are changing. And you may want to pick up a job. You may want to pick up this. You may want to pick up that. And I'm like, no, I'm killing it. Like, no, like I'm good. And I was still partying like it was 1999. So I only had my oldest daughter. And I just kept partying. And then 2007, the subprime mortgage market went out first. And because my core client base were barbers, hairdressers, people from school at Norfolk State, young people. And that was back when you could do stated income. Literally, you could take a sheet like this, write like, okay, I make, this much per month, sign and get it notarized, and you can get the whole home.
Wow.
Now, the one thing I will say is that I never, in my entire career, I never put anyone into those balloon mortgages, like the amortized balloon mortgages, like meaning that I literally walked away from clients that were taking those balloons because if I didn't know anything, like I said, I was in my 20s, but I knew that it was not wise to be counting on income that you potentially could earn in 5 years, and more importantly, that balloon payment.
Yep.
So you figure that the people that I sold, because when you first start in real estate, buyers are going to be your easiest, they're the low hanging fruit because so many people want to buy.
Yes.
So it's easy. I mean, nothing to say with people, but you know what I'm saying. It's easy to find violence. And with you being young, I mean, I would literally walk up on construction sites with the dress on, like 70 houses, so
Yeah.
I was doing all the things. So things were going well. And when the subprime market fell out, it was immediate. So it was like I had deals about to close and like 6 or 7 of them didn't close right in a row. So it was just like it immediately just changed everything,
Yeah.
So I definitely, so I was there. I was in this business. That was the beginning of me being in this business.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I came in 2005.
And I feel like that's not the only thing that was being sold at that time, because there was definitely, if you're gonna make more, so you can just sign this right now. And I know, like, our family lost 2 or 3 homes as well, and that was also kind of getting into all of these different degrees. There was a similar thing going on in education. And so when I was in California in high school, I remember a recruiter coming into our high school classroom and having all these things on the presentation talking about, okay, so if you get your associate's degree, you're going to make about $30,000. If you get your bachelor's, you're looking at $50,000. You get your master's, you're going to get $70,000. So everything was tied to this thing called education. The higher you go, the more you're supposed to make. And so now you're flooded with like all of these degrees, and you're wondering, okay, so what is the thing that is valuable so that I can get this job?
Right.
Or be running my own business.
Right.
So I think that was something that was also being sold, and we see it now. People have a lot of degrees like myself, and you're thinking, why is this so hard? This is not what they talked about.
Right, exactly.
I've been misinformed.
Exactly. No, I definitely understand, and I definitely have friends that have lots of degrees and are, for lack of a better word, underemployed, right? However, I think that accounts for the high amount of Black women business owners and Black business owners overall, right? It's because you get into the workforce and determine that I'm not going to make this money working for someone. Yeah. And then knowing that now even retirement income may not be as guaranteed as it was for our parents. There definitely is a shift, and with all that student debt, right? So even with myself, like the student debt, right? So you figure I definitely see what you're saying. I know when I was in high school, there was a press towards college, and my choice I actually had a scholarship, and my choice to not go to college versus going straight into the Navy was just the fact that my dad passed my senior year. So it was kind of like I just immediately went into I've got to take care of my family as the oldest daughter. So it was kind of like, that's the difference. Like I had a scholarship to school. Yeah, and I just didn't pursue it because of the circumstance of my upbringing, and my dad passed like in October of my senior year. So it was just like, nope, but I still ended up in college. Yeah. And that's one of the things about the military that was so crazy, because I spent all the boot camp crying about the fact that I wasn't in college. And so I go in, and I was a journalist, so it's not like I had a hard job. Right. But I go in, and then the turnout the way it was very traumatic. Immediately following my dad passing, my brother got killed while I was, my younger brother got killed while I was out to sea. So just all of those things that happened kind of in that 5 to 7 year period of like my senior year coming and ended up staying here. Yeah. It was a crazy time. So I definitely understand that they were pushing a whole different agenda at that point, And that college debt now is like one of the biggest challenges that so many.
It's like a house payment. It's a whole mortgage.
yes, it is. Especially if you and your partner both have multiple degrees. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely understand that. So now.
And I didn't go directly to college either, because I was an average student. I grew up in a low income area, not really understanding the value of education, just to learn, even if you don't have the degree, but this critical thinking path. But when I got into the Navy, there was a shift where I started really trying to climb. So I actually went to ODU, University, for like a semester.
Okay.
Before I transferred over to UC Berkeley.
Okay. That's smart though. You got in You got the grades, and you got out of it. And that was smart. That was smart. No, I definitely understand, because ODU has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And back when we were, because me and you obviously are similar in age, so you figure that when I first came here, like in that late, that was the end of the 90s, so the late 90s, ODU was not what it is today, at all. It's changed so much. And I know so many people now that have earned their degrees there, and their experience was amazing. But back during that time, there was definitely a clear divide in how they addressed lots of things, to leave that as it is, So I'm happy that you were able to have the experience at UC and go back to your home area, what I'm saying, very near your home. So that is dope, what I mean? That's really cool. So now you figure that, so now you finish your degree.
Yes.
You come back, you end up back here in Norfolk. Mm-hmm. And what did you do in the interim up until now? Because we're about to get into these businesses now.
Yes.
Did you start Trepson Management at that time when you came here? Because at that point, you're like in your career, you're doing it. So what made you leap out and become an entrepreneur and start your own management firm?
So I was actually I've been doing business before I left.
Okay.
But then it really got more solid when I was in Iowa. So my husband and I, when we got married in Korea, moved to Iowa.
Okay.
I started working for the governor.
Okay.
That for him was going to be a better place to work versus going to California, where I was going to be working at the community college.
Okay.
And we were in a rural area.
Mm-hmm.
About 10,000 people.
Okay.
But it was flooded with all these different people from different places. They migrated in because they could work at a big manufacturing place and not have to speak English. But in this place, with all of this diversity, there was also some challenges with quality childcare.
Okay.
And so we didn't have a child yet. But what I noticed is when I did have one, looking around for where could I put her. And I had already had background in education and nonprofits at that time, but I just kind of switched into government because that was going to be the best thing that I could do going into Iowa.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense because you go where you are needed, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So after I had her, I transitioned into first family childcare, which was 5-star. Started working with the state nonprofits, corporations, such as Tyson and stuff like that, on how do we bring about more childcare.
Okay.
And one of the things that we did in that initiative, as part of my organization, was Trepson Families and Children. Everything has Trepson on it. Well, not profit.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
We had the first countywide cultural, multicultural child festival.
Okay.
And I had a illustrator there. There was a book called, I'm trying to think of it. I can see the picture of it. Can't remember the name right now. But anyway, she came, brought all the books. We got those books to Head Start, to the elementary school. We had about 30 different nonprofits that came throughout the state. We had the university at the time, EDU. They had their students, kind of like you had did journalism. They were out there running stuff on TV.
Right. Yes. No, that's cool.
Had newspapers and everything.
No, that's cool.
And it was just a movement on getting together and trying to get out of silos.
Right. Okay.
How do we work together?
Right.
And some funding came in where I was able to actually open a child care center. And it was hard to do because I was a little more regulated than some other places.
Right. Okay.
You got to get the state fire marshal and all of the things, involved. So I had already started this thing of executive movement before coming here.
Okay. But
my husband was tired of the cold weather bothering his hands. We're talking about snow maybe 6 months out of the year.
Yeah. Right. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So we're thinking about places to go. He wanted to be closer to some of his people and more business. And so my husband is from Nigeria, so he's got Igbo people. There's a lot of them here.
Okay.
In Iowa, they're usually more Sudanese, these Ethiopians. So this was a transition towards a different part of Africa.
Okay.
And in doing that, coming here, I moved back into education alongside what I was doing and doing things with preschools, some public schools, Head Start, but more on pre-K literacy. And now kind of taking into, okay, but I really want to do management, because what I understood when I was there is that I started to be kind of in a silo a little bit, because you're always running at high levels. You need to be running at integrity all the time, because you could get caught on any kind of newspaper, this, that, or the other, all the time, showing up. And it was like, who can do things alongside me? And because I got to do partnerships in the community, I might not have time to do all the other things, like help the team. I had like 20 people, that I was working with, and trying to get them to do things that we needed to do in the community, because it's not just childcare, it's how do we also serve, people too. And this was a time when COVID was around, so there was a lot of service that needed to be done.
Okay, so you came here what, in 2020?
2021.
2021. Okay. So you came back in 2021.
Yep.
All right. And so you came here and you decided to open, so you already had Trepson. And so you came here and opened Trepson Management. And that is a benefits and consulting support agency.
Right. So it's supporting small businesses.
Okay.
I tend to work a lot with women executives that support, because they're doing a lot of things at high capacity and don't have the capacity to do all the other things. And it's like, who can I trust to get it done?
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
At a high level, not just do my calendar, put out a post, but who can go and help close that partnership?
Right.
Who can create my human resources, onboarding, go and scan the people who need to be in my company. When there's a problem, let's get them right, or get them exited. So this is what I do.
So you basically do on-site human resources for startups.
So they're usually they're usually existing.
Okay.
So usually have around 300,000 or more already in their revenue, and they're trying to scale.
Okay, got it.
So they're the scaling business that it's like, well, who do I trust this with? Because everything matters.
Right.
And when you're spending, funds, there's not a little bit, because now that could have came to your employment, your hooking in your bills, but it went to somebody that was just going to sit there.
Right.
And you don't have time for that.
Right. You got to hire the right people. Hire slow, fire fast. Absolutely. No, I hear you. So you did that. And so that obviously succeeded. And you have kept that going.
Yes.
And so now your most recent kind of entrepreneurial pursuits and missions for service.
Yes.
First, we've got to talk about Walker Business.
Yes.
So, as a former Toastmaster myself, I love Toastmasters, and I did it back in. As a matter of fact, the funny thing is, I got into Toastmasters after I lost my house. So you figure that I lost my house, and I was trying to find different ways to be in the community, right? And the broker that I had at the time, he was the Toastmaster president. And so he invited me to come to that meeting, and then I started, coming and participating, and it was a great time. It was a great experience. I learned so much, and it just further informed, because I do voiceover, so it just further informed kind of like my communication skills and communication level.
Yes.
So what was the thing? Because Walker Business Leaders is, in case you guys, because we're kind of just talking, we vibing, okay? I hope you are taking notes to get this information, because all of Mrs. Jefferson's information is going to be below. So if you can utilize any of the services that we talk about, or are local and want to become a part of her Toastmasters Club, which is very high regarded. We're about to talk about that, okay? All of this is going to be below. So remember, when you're liking and subscribing, to go on into the description and get her contact information, all right? So now with Walker Business Leaders, what made you even decide? Because you have Trepson, okay? You rolling, you got that going, you're building trust in the community. People are saying, wow, this lady is on point, on task, and handling this business and making my life easier and allowing me to grow my company, right? Helping them to grow their company. What makes you then say, oh, that's not enough. I'm going to just go ahead and open something else. So what made you do Walker Business Leaders, which is a Toastmasters?
Right. So in the fourth quarter, I want to say that was 2023.
Okay.
I had two visions from God.
Okay.
And one of them was I needed to do more on effective communication because he had been giving me gifts that I felt I couldn't communicate. Mm-hmm. And so it was in the business realm, it was like, well, there might be other people like you, especially when I went to a pitch contest. Mm-hmm. Saw a business leader come up onto the stage, had the screen behind him, and bikes and everything, and we thought he was going to really tell us about how he got there. He looked at us and said, I sell bikes. I'm walk right back on the stage. So I said, I must not be the only one. Mm-hmm. So there's times when you can show up in certain spaces. We call it situational issues with communication. Mm-hmm. And other spaces, it's a challenge. Mm-hmm.
Right. No, I hear you.
And so it just so happened that in that time period, there were about 20 other businesses in our community that took only 3 months that felt the same way.
Okay.
Oftentimes, it takes much longer to build that many because you need 20 people to start a Toastmasters club. Mm-hmm. But we are specifically for entrepreneurs and small businesses. Okay. And establishing effective communication, effective leadership, and collaborating. So we're bringing each other up as we go.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And the thing is that, in every episode, we have got to just take a moment and say, that even before we go on to the next thing, that is a winning mindset. Everything we've spoken about since we started talking has been about service to others. And I love that. That is the reason that I have this show. It is the reason why I'm so committed to this show, is because so many of the people that I come across in my daily walk and all the colleagues and people that I interact with are coming from a place of service, are really caring and compassionate about others, not necessarily for themselves, but as a primary life goal. And so that's the reason, because people like you do not talk about themselves. And that's why it's because people need to hear your story. People need to know what makes you and why you have made these choices. So what is the thing that you believe that most informs your heart to say?
I think kind of coming up in a difficult, childhood made me think about how things might be better for children. That's kind of where I started. But I do feel that I spent about 35 years trying to do things in service, but from the world's view. Okay. It kind of made me feel like, you're walking around after Egypt for 40 years, you're going nowhere, you're coming back to the same place.
Okay. Yeah.
And so while I was in Iowa and feeling like a lot of weight from the work, with all of the things that we've done, God had opened doors. But it was, my husband had moved here, decided he needed a change. And a friend of mine from a different country flew from her country to Iowa in order to help me. And she brought with her a lot of missional concepts in her life. Mm-hmm. And it was during that time period that I found that I knew about him, but I wasn't really walking with him. And so it was kind of hard to transition because I was thinking, well, if I leave or if I go this direction, this new direction, then somehow I'm letting down God. And that was the feeling. So it was like this brokenness that occurred, but was necessary. So on the way to go get her on this long road in Iowa, that's when no stations would come on except for one that I had heard. And that was Caleb. And it was this energizing, positive vibe of Christian, I think it's kind of pop, but it's something that I've never stopped listening to since that day. That's almost 4 years ago.
Okay.
And it keeps me positive. It has transformed what I can put into my environment. So there are a lot of things I won't put in there. Because I realized I was putting a lot of things, R&B and the rap and this and that, and it led where I was going. Wow. And so now I've led me as I'm leading a different direction because He realized or knew that I needed something and I wasn't finding it on my own.
Absolutely. No, that is so beautiful. I'm so thankful that you were with me for that. So now, just to wrap up Walker Business Leaders, because we're about to get to the amazing newest pursuits, right?
Yeah.
I know that's what you got. So now with Walker Business Leaders, you got the 20 businesses.
Yeah.
Fast.
Yes.
First of all, because you put that up there.
Yep.
And second of all, because you acknowledge that I'm not the only one. So it's so often that when we are, we're individual people. And it's so often that when we are in the midst of a struggle or in the midst of trying to determine the next step, that you feel like you're the only one. So you've seen that guy said to you, you know what, I'm not the only one. I can't be the only one, right? So you start Walker Business Leaders.
Yes.
Tell the audience about what you guys have been able to accomplish in just this year and a half.
Well, actually, when we got started, it was really a lot of hype.
Okay.
And I think, and we had brought in, we had been on Channel 13, we had music come down and talk with us, we had dignitaries come out, and some of our leaders weren't ready for where we were going. We always built it. We had told them that this was to be put on bigger platforms because we had gifts that other people needed to know about. Mm-hmm. And for them to not know about it, was like we did a disservice.
Right, okay.
And so the strategy was started from the beginning.
Right.
Some of us weren't ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we hit the first transition, like in August and September, there was some depletion.
Mm-hmm.
But at that same time, there was like a kind of a storm going on and what's going to happen. And what happened is that people didn't understand that even though I wasn't from here, I never put myself in that seat. God did. And so when there was a tussle for who was going to be on certain boards and certain positions, the bottom line was I didn't have to fight, God did. And so when that transition happened, we realized that we came back stronger. A lot of us that stayed were prayer warriors.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to what we stood on, because people at some point they try to get you part of the world. But when we're going to be in here, we don't talk about religion, we don't talk about politics, we don't talk about all these things. But you're like, but that might be a core of your business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you can't talk about it, you can't talk about your identity. Therefore, you can't communicate your business clearly.
Right. And we have got to create and have safe spaces, because how can you evolve and grow if you could not? I know for myself personally, one of the biggest challenges, and it's something that I've learned since opening this company, is that I am the kind of person that I have a million ideas.
Yeah.
However, the way I get them out is that I have to talk
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Yeah.
So I write. I do a lot of writing. Gotta write it down and all of that. So I do all of that. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that when I'm working out a problem, though, I've gotta talk it out. Yeah. So whether someone's listening or not. So what I've actually taken to doing is just talking out loud with no one there, because it's so scary to talk out loud with someone there, because you never know. You know what I'm saying? Where that might go. Or how it will be perceived. So it is a harsh lesson that I've learned since opening the company, because as the head, yes, you can't really talk to who is below, and not below, because I feel like the agents in my company, we stand side by side. I'm just a coach, right?
Right.
So like when the team comes out into the football field, you have the team goes first and then the coach, and when they're all standing on the sideline, they're beside each other. I don't think anyone is below me, but I do understand that it can lend to people's concern or worry, or what is the word that I'm looking for, where they just like their lack of belief or they're not understanding. And so that is why I always tell people that it doesn't matter what you think, not to be dismissive of it, right? Because God gave me those glasses. Right. So it's my vision. Right. And if you're with me and we're gonna grab hands and see this vision through, right, then that's the only way we're gonna make it. But I do have to talk it out. So I get that. And it's like if I have to suppress who I am, knowing that I'm a professional in this business, then we're not a good match, you know?
Right.
So I definitely understand that. And I can understand coming up against that. And I do also understand as a transplanted local how very much this area, but not just this area, because I've come to learn, you know, as we get older and we get wiser, lots of places are like that.
Look, I came from that in Iowa.
Right, exactly. Like if you ain't from here, we don't know you like that.
You need to get in line.
Right, and I'm telling you, it took a very long time for me to be able to like navigate that, because I came here, like I tell people all the time, I became a woman here. I came here at 19, so I was still basically a child. I became a woman here, so that it took me a decade or more to understand that if it was for me, it was for me no matter what, and it didn't matter what, you know, not so much what other people thought, but them trying to put on the we didn't go to high school together, so I can't trust you stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely get it, but I know that is, you know, nationwide and in different communities. It's not just here. It just feels like that, just like we were just talking about how you feel so alone in a circumstance, but there are other people like you. So I'm so happy that it worked out. So now, once you guys got over the hump, tell us what you did.
So after we got over the hump, we decided we needed to get real tight. So we created a plan together, you know, our whole club. What do we expect? What do we need to let people know so they know what to expect when they come in here? Because we need leaders, not people that are going to sit and just receive, but that are going to carry this forward with us.
Yes.
So then we, as we got better, we decided we were going to go ahead and implement the conference that was talked about in the beginning.
Okay.
So that conference, the team really got together so much. Everybody's talents came out. People were doing the program. People were doing social media. We had folks making the bags. People were doing decorating. Everything came together, and every single person that spoke brought more than what they had already showed us. They showed up and being an MC and doing workshops and everything. It was like God was in that house.
Yes.
And what it showed us is that faith is above everything that we could try to perform.
Yes.
And He was going to be with us to see that through. And so it was a great success. We had awardees there from different parts of the state. It was amazing to see them because they're amazing speakers in our community. They do a lot in the communities with serving children, serving adults. One of them does a lot with cancer awareness. Just so much came from us working together and really seeing the vision and standing on the foundation that we needed to stand on.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And so tell us about the award that your club won.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I want the people to know that you, in a year, won the biggest award. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So in under a year, well, in our first year,
winning mindsets,
we actually were able to, not only just do the conference where we showed that we were president status.
Yes.
We also got that president distinction from Toastmasters. And that had us at the top 15% in our division because we did the education. We showed up, but then we also implemented. So it wasn't something that was on paper. It was something everybody could see.
Yes.
And I'm so happy and grateful for that because it did a lot for every single person. They're like, we could do this. This can be done together. And so when I was passing the baton, it wasn't to an empty person because a lot of people said, we're not gonna do it because we got to do what you did. But I was able to pass that baton. No.
Yes.
President Seiko Varner.
Yes.
We took it on, and that's the biggest accomplishment is to have something that you can pass on, and people are still going to do it even when you're not in that seat.
Absolutely. I mean, that is amazing. That is amazing. That is such a great story. And it just shows, again, that you have a winning mindset and that you just decided to weather each twist and turn, pivot and grow, but remain true to the core value of what it's all about. my number one core value is start where you are, use what you have, right? And so I just think that it is amazing that we were able to take that international organization, initiate an initiative, and actually bring it forward to excellence. And I just know that you guys will continue to provide excellence to the community. As a person that is a natural public speaker, it's just always, seriously, I have been speaking in front of crowds since I was a very, very little girl, and it just doesn't make me nervous, right? Like, you get nervous, but I'm saying it just doesn't matter.
Right.
That's my gift, right?
Right.
So it's just something I've always been eager to do, but I know how hard it is to, like you said, effectively communicate a point, a purpose, or when you're trying to get something accomplished.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of pitch competitions in which I wish that I could just run up there, grab their paper, and like redo it real quick so that they can, because that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, I believe my gift is not just the speaking part. Mm-hmm. It is the ability to take complex ideas, and turn them into digestible ideas for anything. Right? Like, I am very good at that, and I continue to, it's a gift. It is a gift from God, like that I can hear complex stuff,
right,
and just immediately like, oh, this is what you mean, and like communicate it. And I know that a lot of people need to do that. So that is something that I just think is beautiful. So now, beyond Trepson.
And so it's like an integration of my husband and my name.
Okay, look, let me get this right, y'all, because I don't listen. We respect Trevina, okay? So this is me mispronouncing this is just a mistake. It is Trepson Management. Okay, so I just want to get it clear, okay? Because we laugh on this show, so this is real. This is episode 22. Okay, we're gonna get some laughs. So now, Trepson Management, Walker Business Leaders, and now. You have interspersed throughout our conversation your belief in God, your relationship with God, your relationship as a Christian, and what He has done to kind of translate and transmute your life into something where He was a part of it, but now you're really putting Him at the center,
right?
And how much that's changed your life, right?
Yes.
And so now you have actually started Crown Christian Executive Women, and you and your daughter together.
Right.
Having podcast.
Right.
Come on, tell us about it. We need to know, because this season is about wealth.
Right.
And I told you guys that you're working on mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. Okay? So this is the spiritual piece, because no matter what your beliefs are, at core, everyone has the right to share their belief and to push that forward. And we know on this channel that God is all things. Come on.
All right, so actually, Trepson Management and Benefits, which is SWAM certified, is at the core at every single business that I do. Okay, it's the core of management and HR consulting and Walker business. It's the core in the Crown Christian Women Executive. It's the core of the podcast my daughter and I do, Raising a Christian Executive, because it takes systems, SOPs. How do we deliver and work with people to get all of these things to the next level? Okay. So Crowned Christian Executive Women, which is tiered right off of Trepson Management, it's one of its pieces. Yeah. It's specifically for the executive Christian women. Absolutely. And so part of it is we have a speakers group. Okay. It does have certain criteria. For example, they have to be an executive business owner and have the Christian faith. Mm-hmm. This is building off of that platform, just like in Walker Business, that we're able to keep rising and sharing our gifts, because the gifts were not made to be for us. They were meant to share for others. Absolutely. Again, that part of service we keep talking about. We keep going back to that. And I love that. No, I love that. I really do, because it's just beautiful to see. So go ahead, tell us about it. Yeah. So it's it's got that component. I'm working on a magazine, Bible the Boardroom.
Okay.
We've got a book collection with all authors, and it's I want to say it's through the fire, basically, because there's a lot of things that you do in leadership, but you're walking through the fire, but you're not walking alone, right? There's somebody in there with you. And then we have, our conferences. So everything for that is still in the uplifting of the woman, executive Christian woman, but for her to not be alone. This is now a place where she gathers with others that understand that journey and keep rising together. Now, I can't do what I do and see a challenge with my daughter when we don't bring this into executive skill functioning that we need to do.
Absolutely. How old is she?
She's 8 years old.
Okay, good. That's St. Nature will be 8 this year. Okay. Yeah, my baby will be, she'll be 8 this year. That's my youngest.
So we play date.
Yes.
That'd
be good.
So over the last couple of weeks, I have been noticing when I picked her up, from the center that she was at, that she would be talking about how someone did name calling, excluded her from groups. And these types of things were not just from one person. It seemed to be gaining momentum. Like 10 different bullies now. Okay. So I said, well, I know 2 things. One, we need to address this consistently. This is from, many years of education, child development, Montessori, and things, but it has to be also consistent. And so that's why we started a 30-day Shine with Grace podcast.
Okay.
To hold me accountable.
Okay.
To knowing this had to be consistent.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good though. That is really good. So, okay, go ahead. I'm listening. I want to get a rest. I'm listening because I was coming with another question, but I said no. Be quiet. Let her cook. Let her cook. So come on, cook it.
So we started this, I would say, 8 days ago. And our first 7 days, we went from these 10 bullies to actually cutting that down by 90%.
Okay.
There's one, and she's just kind of teetering, but we've already started addressing that. And so now she's increased by 80% her ability to make more friends. She felt isolated and depressed, and that all of her friends had went away. But it was about, how do I see the value in other people, even though this group over here doesn't accept me? How do I see myself as fearfully and wonderfully made? How do I pray for others? Because they're bullying, they need some healing themselves. They have some issues with needing to get more of the fruit of the Spirit. And doing role plays, we do a whole lot in about 10 minutes.
Okay, no, that's really good.
We've created materials, and a book is on the way.
That is so wonderful.
And what I enjoy is that I've had people, even though they're not perfect, because this is real life testimony. The child's on the screen sometimes. She's yawning because it's a stress response.
Yes.
But she's getting it, and you can tell because in 7 days, hey, this stuff is working. And
what's the core? What is the core? So what is the core? Like with your podcast? Like
right.
What? I mean, obviously, wait. So we know that God is at core.
Right.
And we know being a Christian person is at core. But what is, with the podcast, what is at core, like what you're doing?
We are working through bullying behavior.
Okay.
How to address it from a Christian standpoint, how to develop executive skills, because bullies don't just live in schools.
Yes. Okay.
They live in the boardroom.
Yes.
They live in your office.
Yes.
And the sooner you're able to effectively communicate and problem solve through these challenges using different role play models. We're going into, today we're doing some things on how do we include humor to turn it around.
Right.
Documentation. Documentation is important, I tell all the time, because in human resources, you need to have documentation of the date, the time, the place, the who, the witnesses, what happened, whatever evidence, so that when you bring it, something can happen.
That's how I got on the name.
Look.
No, for real. Like, I was in A school. I was a journalist. Yeah. So I had, our A school was in Fort Meade, Maryland, which is right down the street from Baltimore, so I got to go home every just about. And there was a petty officer, because, we're very low. We wanted to the petty officer that had struck for the day. And she was a secretary. She was from Chicago.
Right.
This is 1996. Okay. And she had a church. You know what I'm saying? So that is like, she was from Chicago. You understand what I'm saying? She had that soul blood. I will never forget her, petty officer Brenda Granberg. People that know me know that me and names, we do the best we can. You know what I'm saying? However, with her, I will never forget that because she sat us down. We put African American, seamen that had not yet become journalists. She told us, she said, when you get out into the, get out there, she said, you're going to face some things that you never would have met. She said, whenever they speak negatively as far as calling you out disrespectfully or anything that crosses that you see a cat. Remember those little drinking books you used to carry in the back of the dungarees? She said, write it down with the face. Yeah. And that is what got me. Was the fact that, the story is long. But the point is that documentation is so important. It is so important in true documentation of actually what has happened, the time, the date, and sometimes the context. I mean, it really does help. So that is an amazing core value that you're instilling in her to be whatever she chooses. Right. Like whether she decides to go into, working for someone or being an entrepreneur, she will know how to deal with employees and higher ups because of these things that you're doing with her. I just think that's beautiful.
And so, I mean, I've had some challenges with fear, especially speaking on public stages, and she also had like this challenge with fear. And I said, so we need to talk about, where is this fear coming from? That's the enemy trying to distract. And so let's build up, that's what we're building up. Identity is a big thing in there. Praying for others. Because we're not just praying to get released, we're praying for them to get released.
Absolutely.
Who's praying for the person that's bullying everybody?
Absolutely. I tell my daughters all the time, I have a rising 8th grader and a rising 2nd grader. And I tell them all the time that you have to be very careful about the way you interact with kids that you don't know. Because you don't know what they had to deal with before they got there. And having grown up in Baltimore City, I just know what that's like. I know what it's like to have to deal with so much stuff before 8 a.m. before you can get to the school building, right? And you might be hungry, you know what I'm saying? And you're not yourself when you're hungry. This our last episode with Tia, Southern Belle Fungus. She talked about the brain-stomach connection. And people don't think about that. One of my favorite sayings is people don't think about what they think about, right? And that is true. And so it's those connections that make a big difference. You just don't know what people are dealing with. You don't know how their night is. You don't know what type of parents they have. You don't know what values are being instilled in them because so much of our current problems are taught. Things continue to be incessant in our communities because those same things are being taught. They have to be taught at some time, and it's normally in that formative period, from 0 to 7, right? So with our girls now, 8, those core values are in them. And now it's about expanding upon who they'll be in the world as young women. Right. So I hear you.
Yes. And so, like in the book of Matthew, there's a lot of talk about, we have one story where Jesus talks about, how many times, someone asks him how many times he forgives. And you got 7 times 7 and all these times. And so there's an instance where she's always with grace and always wanting to share. And I said, this is great. But in the same book, in the same chapter, it also talks about, I want to say it's Matthew 7:6. It also talks about, do not throw, your pearls in front of dogs. because they will stomp on them, turn around, and rent you out.
And pearls before swine.
Swine, yes.
Trust me. Let me tell you about this is what's crazy about this conversation. Okay, because I just got chills. So I have been hearing that all week from different places. Do not cast your pearls before swine. Right. For you to bring that up in this moment, come on, we know he's present. Right? We know he is ever present. Right. Oh my God. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. That was just a moment.
I get you. And so, like in my Bible, King James, it says swine. In her Adventure Bible, which she brought on, I had something about dogs, didn't include pigs, but it still had the same message.
Right.
And what I was saying, I was like, so this tells us that we also need to create boundaries. And also in 7, it talks about how you discern who has good fruit and who doesn't, not just by what they're telling you. You know, because a good tree bears good fruit. A corrupt tree bears, corrupt fruit. And
no fruit.
Right, or in discerning false prophets, as well. And so that's where we started talking about these things are in here, but they're in here at the same time. There are some times when you don't have power. We look at slavery. We look at what happened with, racism, where you don't have a right to go and get food inside. You need to be at the back in the trash bin.
Right.
And go and get that.
Right.
So there's people that have power, and some of what you might do with your peer won't apply. So it says, okay, so if someone forces you to walk a mile, go within 2 miles, because there's a power play, and now it needs to be by choice. But when you have peers at the same level, like, okay, let's discern if you're really a friend or if you're not. And then I need to set boundaries. It's okay to set boundaries.
Yes.
Because it's right here in the Bible. It tells you right here in the Bible how to discern them. And then that you need to be careful with what you value so it don't get stomped on.
Right. Oh, yes. That is amazing. That is so you're going to have to put, first of all, you guys, this podcast is going to be below because me and Nature are going to be watching this. Me and Nature are going to be watching. I mean, can you watch it? You got this.
No, you can watch it. It's on YouTube.
Good. So we're going to be watching this because my daughter, my youngest daughter, she has a little Bible that she picked up like at the thrift store. And so it's like that little blue New Testament or whatever. I'm not sure what it is, but some kind of little Bible. And she will open it up and then we'll just read, just read it out. Like, so she, this is the thing, okay? Every time, whatever it is, it's for that moment. Like she take that Bible and she open it up. Right. I'd be like, pick a page, and she'd be like, and it'd be exactly what it needs to be. So that's what I'm saying. So I just think that I'm just so honored and happy that you came on and would tell us, this stuff that you're doing. It's just amazing. I really think it is so beautiful to see you kind of like living out loud in your faith and then tying your faith into every part of your business. I tell people all the time, people that I know that tithe are the most blessed people I've ever met. Like people that I know that tithe all the time, like actually are members of a church and tithe all the time, they are the most blessed people I've ever met. And so I just think it is a beautiful thing to be tying your belief. So now, Raising a Christian Executive is the podcast. Tell us a little bit more about Crown Christian Executive Women. And then, here's the other question. And I got to ask this for the brothers. No, I do, because I feel like that our men are so left out. And I know that the male loneliness epidemic is a real, right? I know that's a real. And I see the difference in how we treat each other from my upbringing to now, right? Because I had a really good father. And I grew up, my mother's family name is Good. And the men in my family are really good men, right? Like they reflect what you would consider a good man to be, right? Like all the things. And to see the difference in how we collectively relate and treat each other in these over 40 years I've been on the planet, to actually have knowledge of it and see it with my own eyes, is so heartbreaking. You know, do you have plans to eventually extend this to include men or its own separate arm of Crown Christian Executive Men? Because there are a lot of men that need hugs. Like a lot of times, no, for real, because a lot of times I run into, you know, like I deal with a lot of different types of people. And you'll be talking to someone, but I can feel they need a hug, right? Like, meaning I'm not going to give them a hug because that's not the relationship. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I'm not even talking about like romantic. I'm talking about like you can tell, and I know you deal with it, when you deal with people and you can tell they just need a hug and a pat on the back, right? Just to say it's going to be okay. I deal with so many people like that. You know, and they be successful in all the things, but they just need a hug, like a genuine mamahood, right? But not their mama, like somebody else that's their counterpart, you know, they can just be like, hey, you know, I feel that energy and you, it's safe to release. Right. Do you have plans to extend it in any way?
Let me start with this. Okay. When I came here working with pre-K literacy, I was actually in a program called Indian Coach.
Okay.
So I was coaching and helping professional development for young men ages 18 to 24, men of color. Okay. Coming up and trying to diversify the teacher pipeline, which only has 2% of men of color in it. Mm-hmm. And did I see a lot? There was a lot of trauma, absolutely, and unresolved issues that happened back in childhood, and and some of those things you can address. However, I really feel that it needs a man to be co-doing that.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Oh no,
I don't feel that. But I'm just saying, I don't feel that is our direction.
Right. Okay.
I've done some things like I have a friend that we did program management doing this together. So I was doing a lot of coaching for some of the professional development. If we were doing something like that, yeah, maybe that way. But it's not the first target for me because I know that women and men need different things. And women tend to carry a lot. And I'm just going to say this. For men, sometimes it feels like a lot because there's a lot of unresolved issues. But for women, it is a lot because you've got your children you got to do, the house got to be kept, things, bills got to be paid. You got to break down all these barriers of where you can work and trying to sometimes elevate and say, hey, I can do this, but it's always something that you're doing and you're carrying 20 things like a superwoman.
Right. I mean, no. Listen, no, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying that I just feel like sometimes it's so much stuff for women, and I feel like sometimes they be the problem. I'm a woman.
Yeah.
Like I can say it, and I'm old enough to say it. Yeah. I've had enough experiences to say it. Yeah. If we look at the kids that are being raised today, me and my girlfriend just had a conversation about this. If we look at the kids that are being raised today, our counterparts children, you and I, right, would be similar, right? Like meaning that our kids could likely have a plate, right? And we would both know that we share enough core values in common that our kids being in connection with each other would not turn out to be a negative thing.
I'll be watching for that too. Like, hold on.
But that's what I'm saying. Like enough things that would be in common that they shouldn't be sullied by the other's bad experience, right? However, I have sat in rooms where people will, men and women, will say, oh, these kids, like they not our kids. Like the 20s and down are pretty much our children, our generation of children that we have raised. Right. And so I just feel like at times that there is so much of focus on, and I mean, don't get me wrong, we know that what you're doing is needed and desired and valued, and we need as many programs as possible to continue to support women. I just feel like who's going to really address the fact that a lot of women will publicly present as one way, And then behind those closed doors are raising those children. You see? I just think that there has got to be, like you said, some men that organize themselves in such a way to heal without feeling that it makes them less than a man or not manly or not, you know what I'm saying? That is something that I see, I guess because I have, even though we're not young anymore, but I have a younger brother. And, you know, I deal with a lot of men just in my business. And I just feel like I wish I knew a man that would take up a charge for that. Because no, I don't think it's something that we can do as women. Just like we can't individually raise sons the way a father could, right? So I'm not trying to take that away from it.
Right.
I'm just saying somebody needs to address the problems with the women. Two, because we always uplifting and supporting each other, and people will put on these public personas, right? You know, in connection with these groups and these organizations. But at home, they're not raising or living that standard, you know, like you said, consistently to produce the result for the external world.
Yes. And that's kind of like, are you living in fear because you're a performance and have to prove? Or are you living on faith? And oftentimes, I think for me, having that encounter and transformation switched it from fear and performance to walking on faith. So that I know that my steps are ordered. I know that I was called to be here. I know that I was put in this chair. That's why it is now crowned. So if I'm crowned, I'm not going by my own will or what I want to prove or what I want to show. When I get off the stage, I'm the same person.
Right.
And I can be that because it's okay. I already know that my identity is in Christ. I'm God's child, so I don't need to perform for anyone. I just need to show up and be present because we need to serve.
Right. No, for sure. I just think collectively our community just needs healing.
Yeah.
I just think we just are just in so much pain.
Yeah.
You know, I do. I just think that a lot of us are just walking around successful in our lives, you know, with our jobs and with our careers, with our pursuits, but privately are just in so much pain, you know.
Yes.
And I don't even mean mental pain. Like everybody's all, oh, your mental health. No. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like really just your feelings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just there are things that you don't even know why you respond the way you respond. Right. Like I tell people all the time that the only thing you can control is yourself, right?
Right.
And people will come to me with their situations and I say, well, how did you handle it? You know, like, because everything outside of you is outside of your control. Right. It's just you that can handle it. Yeah. And so once you understand that only thing you can control is you, then it starts to give you an opportunity to be introspective and start really healing from the inside out. But it takes that knowledge and the not so much the accountability, but the self-awareness to know that if I can only control me, then that dictates everything about my world and my surroundings, you know.
And that those instances, it's like there are moments of clarity, there are moments of what can I learn from this? And I think like, and I know what you're saying. And I think because I came from like a low income area, there were things that I would do then walking in the space because my environment told me who I was. And so it's hard to see how I should behave or how I should look and what introspect should be because I don't understand or know that yet. And so I said, like, I walked through this desert for a good 35 years because I didn't understand what it was to walk with him. I just knew that he existed. And so I understand what people are going through because it's your environment and what you've experienced a lot of times can shape these things that you feel you need to do or the situation you feel you're in. And so that's why I said, like, for me, it's like we're on year 4 now, but I know what I had to walk through. I know what I had to live through. I understand it wasn't that long ago.
No, I hear you. No, I hear you. I mean,
so that healing is like it's so needed, but it's internal. It's internal with him.
Right. It's hard.
And so as you do it, like all of this work, the work will go away because you leave it at the altar, and that brings peace. So it doesn't matter what's happening.
Okay. Well, you know what? I hope that somebody got touched today. Okay?
Amen.
I hope that somebody that is out there watching understands that it is just an amazing faith walk to just trust Creator, trust God, and allow yourself to lean into Him first, right? I just thank you so much, Trevina, for just coming on. I mean, this has just been an eye-opening, beautiful conversation.
We didn't know we was going to have all this conversation.
And see, I told you that people, hey, look, if you are a potential guest, okay, people don't believe me when I say I don't write nothing down. All I write down is a few of your information, and then we're going to go off vibes, we're going to go off experience, and we're going to go off my want and desire to hear what you have to say. I invite people on, again, because of your winning mindset. It is an honor to have people come sit in this room with me and share their purpose, their goals, their things that they want to do. And it always ends up being from a place of service. And a lot of times, guests are able to discover something about themselves and talking and reliving and sharing these circumstances. So I just thank you so much for just sharing about your businesses, what you're doing for Crowned Christian executive women. Yeah, good. That's good. Thank you, because it is fun. And raising a Christian executive, all this information is going to be below, as well as Trepson management, benefits, services, counseling, all of the stuff, consulting rather, all of the stuff that she provides as an executive, okay? All of these things will be below in the description box, so you can reach her Facebook, website, whatever she has, all that's going to be below, okay? We just appreciate you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing your winning mindset. Is there anything, one last thing that you'd like to just share with the audience?
Click, like, and subscribe.
Thank you so much. You guys, I hope you have an amazing and powerful week. Thank you for tuning in again to episode 22 of Flawless Living Made Simple, Winning Mindsets. Thank you and bye.